Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Paranormal Podcast, not podcast, podcast. I am your host, Chrissy, and I talk about everything horror, scary, creepy, anything from hauntings, paranormal, cryptids, and just basically the unknown, and obviously the horror genre. So, yay! All right, so let's kick off with the newest episode this week. And before I get started, my youngest wanted me to show you guys the cute little pumpkin he got from the corn maze farm place here that we went and visited like a couple weeks ago. So there he is. Um, so tonight's episode is a one that I kind of covered briefly in my episode with the Rambling Broads, and it deals with Pukwudgies. All right. So Pukwudgies translates as little man of the woods that vanishes. It's a human-like creature of Native American folklore found in Delaware, Prince Edward Island, and parts of Indiana and Massachusetts, and is said to be somewhere between 2 to 3 feet tall. So, according to legend, Pukwudgies can appear and disappear at will, shapeshift, um, which for the most part, their most common form is to look like a porcupine from the back and a half troll, half human from the front and walks upright. Lures people to their death, uses magic, launches poison arrows, and creates fire. Native Americans believe that the Pukwudgies were once friendly to humans, but then turned against them and are best left alone. According to a lore, a person who annoyed a Pukwudgie would be subject to its nasty tricks or subject to being followed by the Pukwudgie, who would cause trouble for them. They are also known to kidnap people, push them off cliffs, attack their victims with short knives and spears, and use sand to blind their victims. Pukwudgies are said to be the enemies of cultural heroes, the giant uh, Moshop and his wife Granny Squanton. One story from a Native American folklore, I would try to say the name, and honestly, I can't remember, and I don't, just out of respect, don't want to butcher the name of the tribe. Um, so this folklore explains that they began causing mischief and tormenting the natives out of jealousy to the devotion and the affection the natives had for Mossop, who eventually exiled them to different parts of North America. Pukwudgies have since been hostile to humans and took revenge by killing the um, the giant's 5 sons. Variations even suggest they even killed the giant himself. Uh, so moving on, got a little bit more. I almost dropped my fucking phone. Pukwudgies. Should have brought my glasses, people. All right, Pukwudgies are magical little people of the forest and the Algonquian folklore, similar to European gnomes or fairies. Pukwudgie stories are told throughout the northeastern United States, southeastern Canada, and the Great Lakes region. However, their nature varies in the folklore of different tribes. Those of the Great Lake tribes, the Pukwudgie is considered to be mischievous, but basically a good-natured creature who plays tricks on people and is not dangerous. To the northeastern tribes, a Pukwudgie can be dangerous, but only to people who treat him with disrespect. To the southern New England tribes, Pukwudgies are dangerous creatures who play harmless tricks or even help a human neighbor, but are just as likely to steal children or commit deadly acts of sabotage. Pukwudgies are, as I said, they're not very tall, 2 to 3 feet, so about knee height, or even smaller. Um, they're considered to be spirits of the forest. In some traditions, they have a sweet smell associated with flowers. Pukwudgies have magical powers varying from tribe to tribe and may include the ability to turn invisible or confuse people or make them forget things, shapeshift into cougars or other dangerous animals, and bring people home to harm them. Pukwudgies and where to find them. So, no Pokemon. So this one comes from Indiana. Animals that claim to exist but have never been proven, with Halloween just around the corner. This is from an article. Now is the best time to learn about 3-foot tall creature lurking in the forest is near you. Many indigenous people have legends of Pukwudgies, but one of the most popular places to see them is at Mount State Park in Anderson. These Pukwudgies come from legends of the Lenape people who lived in Indiana long before the white settlers. Pukwudgies are said to be, like I said, 2 to 3 feet tall, goblin-like creatures lurking in the forest. They transform into animals and use their mischievous ways for their own good. Author and amateur archaeologist Paul Starsman claims to have encountered a Pukwudgie numerous times, writing on his experiences and the experiences of others in his book, The Pukwudgies of Indiana. His first encounter with Pukwudgies was in 1927, where he was only 10 years old. He states that he was hiking alone on a trail in a park when he suddenly saw a little man half his size. The little man had dull blonde hair that covered his head like a helmet. No, excuse me, which left his round ears to protrude. Uh, Startsman interviewed many people who had encountered the Pukwudgies in their lives. He chose to keep their identities anonymous because of skeptics. Eloise H. was one such person who was interviewed while living in a nursing home in Anderson, Indiana. She remembers playing along in the park and was approached by a group of little people who seemed curious about her and what she was doing. Eloise said they had high-pitched voices and spoken languages she couldn't understand. She experienced this again when she was older, hiding alone nearby in the woods. If you're taking an autumn hike in the Mound State Park and feel like you're being watched, it might be the Pukwudgies. There have been modern day sightings, and found a couple of encounters. These are fun, and then I'll go into 20 facts about them. And I tell you, Alicia from the Rambling Broads covers this amazingly. You should definitely check out not only the Rambling Broads, but her solo podcast. Oh, she's gonna kill me, and I don't remember the title of it. I'll have to look it up after I read about the encounters. Okay, so back to the Pukwudgie encounters. So 2 encounters with Pukwudgies. This article is from 2019, and it happened in Lawrence, Massachusetts. So last week, someone I'll call Miss S wrote and told me about unusual things that were happening to her family 30 years ago, and she said that I could share them on here. So this is someone's blog. First incident happened to Miss S's brother, Bob. He was just a child at the time, maybe 7 or 8, and was watching TV with some cousins at his grandparents' house in Lawrence, Massachusetts. While they were sitting on the couch, which faced the TV but had its back towards the doorway into another room. As they sat there watching TV, Bob felt someone pull the back of his hair. He thought it was his cousin Sandra. So he told her to stop, and she denied pulling his hair. A few seconds later, he felt it again. This time, he yelled at his cousin, who still said she didn't do it. A few more seconds passed, and Bob once again felt someone tug on his hair. He turned around angrily, expecting to see his cousins hiding behind the couch, but his anger turned to surprise when he saw who was there. Instead of a cousin, he saw a little old lady with long white hair who was quite small. She was only 2 or 3 feet tall. When she saw Bob looking at her, she quickly started to run towards the front door, and she disappeared into thin air before she reached it. Bob was understandably surprised by this, but when he blurted out what he had seen to his grandmother told him not to worry about it. Don't worry, she said. They're friendly. The second incident occurred one day when Bob's mother took him and his cousins, including Sandra, out to the movies. After the movie was over, they returned to their grandparents' house. The door was locked. No one was supposed to be home, so they were surprised to see through the window that the lamp was on in the living room. Sandra peered through the window to see if she could see her grandparents, and she jumped back from the window and screamed, "I'm getting the fuck out of here." Bob's mother stepped up to the window and looked inside. She saw a very short old man with long white hair running out of the living room. She gathered the kids quickly together and they all left. Miss S says that her brother and mother still talk about these 2 incidences. They said that in retrospect, they should have known something was odd. Something odd was happening in the grandparents' home. They would sometimes find a tin of coffee open and spilled onto the floor, and bottles of Coke stored in the attic open and half drunk. When asked about these things, the grandparents would just shrug and say that they had rats, but rats can't take metal caps off of glass bottles. In her email, Miss S wrote that she thought these encounters were Pukwudgies, the little magical people from a local Native American lore. The beings her family members saw were short, fast, very long hair, which matches the descriptions from the local Native American tribe. The lore also describes them as being mischievous but shy, which matches the two encounters. It's important to note that historically, Native American lore from New England includes a wide variety of people known by many names. It was only in the late 20th and early 21st century that Pukwudgie has become widely used to describe them. It's also important to point out that Miss S's grandparents, mother and brother, are of Native American heritage. I'm sorry, I'm not going to try and pronounce the tribe's name because I don't believe in butchering names of things I don't know how to say. But this particular one is from Canada. They enjoy playing tricks, including tying knots in people's hair. Was this the old woman? Was this what the old woman was trying to do to Bob's hair? It seems possible since the grandparents were of Native American and they weren't worried about having little people in their house. They understood that they were just a part of life. A family of European descent unfamiliar with these beings probably would have called an exorcist. Most local Native American groups tried to foster, sorry, there's a bug flying around, foster good relationships with the Pukwudgies. Like any neighbor, they could be malicious when treated poorly and helpful when treated right. Miss S said she has never seen the little people herself, but when she moves to a new house, she always does something that her mother taught her. She leaves a small spice cake on the back steps the first night she moves in. She says her house is peaceful and her garden is very productive. It may seem strange that the Pukwudgies would appear in someone's home since they're usually associated with the woods and the forest. The grandparents' house was in an urban part of Lawrence, so it was definitely not a rural environment. However, there have been two other cases where small fairy type have been uh, a very fairy type being has appeared in someone's home. In one case, someone in Somerville was allegedly haunted by a troll. This person also goes on to say that they've read about a house in Weymouth that might have been inhabited by a mischievous Pukwudgie. So another encounter was another sighting in Massachusetts. Mary lives in Norwell and was taking care of a friend's large Labrador retriever while the friend was traveling. The dog would wake Mary up every morning between 4 and 5 to take it for a walk. Mary would usually bring the dog to a small nearby watershed, a patch of woods and swamp for most mornings. Oh, excuse me. Mary and the dog went on these early morning walks for a few weeks without anything strange happening, but that changed on March 1st. It was pitch black. Let's see when this was. This was 2023. It was pitch black and they were walking on a road near the watershed, and the dog stopped in its tracks and let out a low growl. Had it seen a raccoon or coyote? Feeling nervous about being alone in the dark with a wild animal nearby, Mary looked around to see what startled the dog. It wasn't a raccoon or a coyote. It was much stranger. Crouched near the woods was a small humanoid creature. It was covered in what looked like matted black fur. Mary thought that the creature stared at her with glowing green eyes, but wasn't sure if she just imagined that detail. Whatever the creature was, it was something she had never seen before, so she and the dog hightailed it home. A few days later, the dog went home to its owner, and Mary thought that was the end of her strange experience. But on one night of March 13th, Mary heard some unusual sounds coming from outside of her house. It sounded as though something were quietly but insistently tapping on the side of her house, or possibly the window. At first, Mary thought maybe her daughter had locked herself out of the house, but that was not the case because she was safely inside. Mary's thoughts then turned to the small humanoid she had seen near the woods. Was it outside of her house, tapping on the walls and windows? The next day, she talked with some people at work about what was happening, and one of them suggested she encountered a Pukwudgie. Pukwudgie is the name for these small, hairy, magical humanoids that live near the woods in New England. Basically, they're a fae type. Not pretty tutu wearing like Tinkerbell, more of a Harry Potter. They're the type of fairy that you'd expect to see in the woods around here, which are rough, rocky, and filled with poison ivy. A Pukwudgie um, is something of a modern term, at least in New England. The Native Americans in New England had other names for the beings, and I'm not going to try and say them. Pukwudgie was originally used by a different tribe of Native Americans of the Midwest to describe small magical beings that they encountered, but since it's become a popular word in New England and in Massachusetts. Pukwudgies are believed to be mysterious at best and malevolent at worst. Traditionally, the local Native Americans believed that little people would help humans if treated with respect. That is not the case with Pukwudgies, who supposedly like to shoot people with darts, lure them off cliffs, and generally lurk and frighten anyone around who encounters them. Mary's encounter is similar to another well-known Pukwudgie encounter. For example, in 1990 in Raynham, Massachusetts, a man named Bill Rousseau was walking his dog late near the woods one night when he saw a small, hairy humanoid creature, which tried to lure him in the woods. He declined the offer, and Christopher Blazano describes a very similar situation in his 2007 book, Dark Woods, Cults, Crimes, and the Paranormal in Freetown State Forest. A woman named Joan was walking her dog in Freetown State Forest when she noticed someone watching her. It was a small, gray-skinned humanoid with hairy arms and a hairy head, and it just stared at her with deep green eyes. After encountering the Pukwudgie in the woods, Joan noticed that the Pukwudgie lurked around her house several times. Apparently, it followed her home. After I got the email from Mary, this is the person's blog. After I got the email from Mary, I asked Blaine Balzano if he had any advice for people who encountered Pukwudgies, particularly Pukwudgies that seem to be lurking around their home. He said the best thing to do is just ignore them. Eventually, they'll go away, and the strange phenomena will stop. Sounds like decent advice to me. Um, whoops. Let me see. So 20, I'm so excited for this. 20 facts about the mischievous Pukwudgie who lurks in the forest. All right, you ready? Pukwudgies are magical creatures who live inside wooded areas and swamps. They are considered spirits of the forest. Pukwudgies can appear and disappear at will, confuse humans, create fire, launch poison arrows, use magic, and lure people to their death. Pukwudgies have the ability to shapeshift into dangerous animals such as cougars, not cougars. They can also turn themselves into a combination of creatures and look half human, half porcupine if they choose. If you spot a Pukwudgie, you should leave it alone. Just don't do anything. Anyone who annoys one will be followed around by the creature and will either fall victim to its nasty tricks like being stalked and having their memories forgotten, or they will meet a much deadlier ending. If you annoy a Pukwudgie, they might try and kidnap your children, push you off a cliff, attack you with their short knives and spears, use sand to blind you, persuade you to commit a not so good thing. Pukwudgie resembles humans, except they have much smaller and a canine-like nose, larger ears, lips, and fingers. They have been compared to trolls, goblins, leprechauns. Pukwudgies are most commonly found in areas with other forms of paranormal activity. They have been sighted near Fall River, which is close to the home of Lizzie Borden. They also have been sighted in Moundsville State Penitentiary in Indiana and Round Rock in Texas, where Bigfoot allegedly lives. The exact height of Pukwudgies is unknown, but most witnesses say it's between 2 or 3 feet. Native Americans used to believe that Pukwudgies did get along. Native Americans believe that Pukwudgies used to get along with humans, but then turned against them. Legend says the reason why Pukwudgies hate human is because of a certain Native American tribe. Like I said, they adored a giant and were irritated and were irritated by the Pukwudgies in the area they considered a nuisance. Even though the creatures were only trying to be helpful, the tribe asked the giant to get rid of the Pukwudgie, so he threw them out of the area and slaughtering some in the process. Pukwudgies obviously translate to person of the wilderness. Pukwudgies are the oldest mythical creatures in North America. Stories of Pukwudgies originated with different Native American tribes. They are believed to have dwelled in the woods and the marshes of the eastern seaboard. Different regions have different views on Pukwudgies. Great Lakes, like I said, believe that they are mischievous and harmless. And the Northeast believe they are more violent if they are disrespected, but are fine if they are left alone. A significant amount of Pukwudgie sightings are in the woods of Massachusetts. Police have gotten so many reports that they've actually created a Pukwudgie crossing sign near Freetown State Forest. Pukwudgies have smooth gray skin that sometimes glows. Dun, dun, dun. One woman claims, which I believe is the one that we read, one woman claims she came across a Pukwudgie while walking her dog in the woods. Even though she left it alone and went home, the creature would commonly appear at her window and wake her up. These occurrences continued until she moved away. One man claimed that he saw a Pukwudgie with fur, glowing red eyes, and a nose like a wolf. When it ran away, it released a disturbing moan. Even though their appearances are off-putting, Pukwudgies have a sweet floral scent. The Song of Hiawatha, an epic poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, mentions Pukwudgies, and it was published in 1855, and it goes like this. Far and wide among the nations spread the name and fame of the Cowicin. No man dared to strive with the oh my God. Never mind, guys. I'm not even going to try. But anyways, they called them fairies and pygmies. Pukwudgies have appeared in the Harry Potter series, written by Rowling. The creature acts as a symbol in the house at the American, the one in America, School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And that, my dudes, is, well, let's see. Can we find anything fun? Chasing the legend. Nah, nothing really. All right, so that's it for this one. Like I said, it's about the Pukwudgies. What do you guys think? It's so funny because when I talked to Alicia about this, Alicia and Michelle, um, like fabulous to learn about. So if you haven't already, like I said, you can check it out a few episodes ago. It's with the Rambling Broads. Wicked Dark History is the name of Alicia's podcast, where she delves deeper into obviously the Wicked Dark History. And yeah, check it out. I'm gonna go find this book now because I really want to read on this. It's fabulous. All right, guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, evening, night, whenever you're listening to this. And I will catch you on the flip side. Just remember to stay hauntingly fabulous, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.